Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today in this video we're going to be talking about Rey Skywalker from the Star Wars sequel trilogy, and we'll be going in depth and talking about why she might be underrated and just overly hated on for no reason at all. Well, there is reasons, but I mean just that she may be just overhated on. So we'll be starting off in chronological order with The Force Awakens. And we'll be discussing through each movie on how she actually is a very good character, written in some aspects though. I can't say all, just because that some of the comments that are made with her and how she's written is not really the best. But anyways, without further ado, let's get into it. So starting off with The Force Awakens, episode 7, we are introduced to her on a planet called Jakku, which is a desert planet, and it is very, well, isolated in the outer rim of the core planets in the system, in the galaxy system of Star Wars. And that planet is more or less a junkyard planet, because there was the last battle of the Republic against the Empire in the old days. And that was their last battle. So there's a lot of parts that she was able to scavenge through, and that's what she became there, living all alone, which tells us that she's alone and had to do everything on her own, which resulted in her being strong, curious, and overly had the freedom to do whatever she wanted to do. But mostly she just used that to survive and then to scavenge. She has her own speeder, she cooks her own food that we see in the movie, and she, well, like I said, this gives us the first inkling that she is actually really smart, and it comes down to her environment itself, because a lot of people hate that she is a know-it-all, that she knows everything, and that she's so smart and she has no flaws. But that comes from the planet that she's living on, that we're introduced to. She's literally scavenging for good part. She was kind of raised by Unkar Plutt, which is more or less kind of like a junk dealer in space or something like that. So you'll tell her what is good and what's not good. And there's a full marketplace or village that is used to scavenge for good parts and stuff like that, to salvage and stuff like that. So right from the get-go, we already get an inkling of how she knows all this technology and why she's so smart on all the engineering skills and all that stuff, is because she has nothing better to do. Like for us personally, in our lives, in our human lives on Earth, is that we go to school and we learn this at a slow rate. We don't learn to take apart things, we don't learn to work on cars, we don't really have that freedom, really. We're just told to go to school, learn by book, and then when you get it out from school, you kind of get that engineering skills and stuff like that. If you go into that faculty of engineering, electrical and mechanical, or something like that, that's the only way you learn though. But Rey is literally, well, she's not really born there, but she is taken there at a young age, around like 7 or 8, and she's raised there, and that's all she's known for years now, scavenging through Empire ships and rebel ship for good parts. So she's gonna know how to build all those things, and knows what's good and what's not good. She also knows what part is valuable to that position. So that's why when she takes apart the Falcon later on in the movie, she says she found a way to bypass the compressor. She would know how to do that because she's probably taken apart other ships with that same problem, or worked on other ships there. See, this isn't like Luke or Anakin in a way. Like Luke had the storyline where he was raised on a farm, and he says he kind of knows how to pilot, and kind of does, because he's learned a little bit how to do that, because he had nothing else to do at the end of the day. But he doesn't really know how to repair a ship though that much, nor are we shown anything else. We also see that his attack strategy for what makes him different than Rey is that when he goes to attack the Tusken, he brings his rifle with him, and even the Tuskens surprise him and overwhelm him and more or less just kick his ass right away. So he has 0 fighting skill. However, on the other end, Rey does have those fighting skills as she has her staff, and she was able to whoop Unkar Plutt's kind of gang guys or goons or thugs or whatever you call them. She come take away BB-8, and she defends them off, literally. And then she chases after Finn and cuts him off. So she's probably had this problem before where she's had something of value taken from. So she's not really raised in like a kind, caring, giving home like Luke was. She was raised under rough conditions of either you fight off the people that are going to take something from you, or you let them take it, and so on and so forth. Almost like Anakin. But Anakin still had his mother though, and he was still a little bit younger. But if Anakin was still there on Tatooine in his like teens and same age as Rey at 19, he would still be the same way as Rey. He would be having the mechanical engineering abilities that he did before because, like I said, he had nothing better to do other than to make himself useful. He wasn't raised on a farm, so he had to become like an engineer or something like that because he was raised in like with Watto, who was like a junkyard seller or dealer. I don't know how you would say that, but yeah. So he was exposed to a lot of mechanical parts. So he took an interest in the same way that Rey did. Just Rey did it longer than Anakin. As Anakin was taken at 9 years old to become a Jedi, while Rey was just more or less raised under those tough conditions, even more, all alone, which results in her having to grow up really fast and become acclimated to these positions. She even stated in the movie that she even knows how to fly a quad jumper, probably because she's probably flown one, and I believe that she even said that she flew one a couple times, because Finn even asks her, like, why haven't you left Jakku? And she's like, no, I'm just waiting for something there, as she's just waiting for her family there, which is a totally normal thing to do. Like, some people have these mental problems when they're abandoned. They feel like their people will come back to in some way or some form. And we see this throughout the trilogy. This is one of her main problems, but this is why you make a good character in that sort of way, because you need to give a character a problem. That's why a lot of people say that she's like a Mary Sue or she's like a girl boss, but really at the end of the day, when you figure her out, she still has problems that can be dealt with, just like Anakin, just like Luke at the end of the day. So anyways, moving on to more of this. I'm going to go. The middle of the movie kind of doesn't really show that much of her. She just fixes up a ship and kind of rejects the lightsaber and stuff like that. And really, she does fail at a lot of things, like Kylo Ren kidnaps her and stuff like that. She then kind of does get the Force awakened in her by Kylo Ren, but that's like a one-time usage though. She didn't master it right away. Like, it still took her a couple tries to try to mind control the guard, and then after that she still couldn't really fight Kylo Ren either with a lightsaber. It wasn't until like she was on her last leg that she kind of let it go and tapped into the Force completely, that she was able to overwhelm Kylo Ren. But that being said, that earlier on in the movie, Kylo Ren was shot with a blast by Chewbacca's crossbow, and we know that Chewbacca's crossbow is a very powerful weapon, as it was able to explode multiple stormtroopers and stuff like that. And a blaster bolt that we see in The Last Jedi is very powerful, as it destroys through like almost 3 layers of rock, big rock. So it's not like a gun. Like a gun would like be a bullet and still has life in it. But I mean, a blaster is like 10 times worse than a gun, than a normal human gun on Earth, as it does more damage than any of the other things out there. And that's Chewbacca's gun as well. It's not like Rey's gun, which was able to destroy like 4 layers of rock completely, eviscerating. Chewbacca's is like even more strong, and Chewbacca chose to shoot him in the stomach area. So I mean, at the end of the day, like Kylo Ren was able to still kind of get the upper advantage on Rey, who was untrained and barely held a lightsaber, just because he was so weak by that blaster bolt. Add to the fact that he just killed his father and was mentally unbalanced, which would be later commented on by Snoke, saying that that deed split his spirit to the bone. But he was still able to kind of own her at the first end of it. But as the battle went on, he kind of got worn out. Anyone else would be the same way, and Rey tapped into her kind of potential in that way and was able to kick his ass, which isn't like her being so overpowered. It was just that the circumstances that laid the way to that point gave her the upper chance to beat Kylo Ren at the end of the day. So when everybody says that she's overpowered, it's not really actually true. She's just, the circumstance gave that way. In Darth Vader, compared to like Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader was completely fine. All he was able to do was land a hit on Vader. However, Kylo Ren is different. He had a severe injury laid onto him, and then Finn kind of gave a little bit of a scar on him, but still Kylo Ren was still able to kick both their ass at the end of the day. He was still able to kind of the best Finn, and then he was able to get the upper hand on Rey at the beginning of their fight, until Rey was pushed to her limit to rely on the Force, and that's what she did. So at the end of the day, she's not really overpowered per se. It's just that in the first movie, it's just that she kind of just used a little bit of her power and then was forced to use on it more, but the circumstance between that paved the way for her to win that battle. If Kylo Ren wasn't hurt, then yeah, he would have probably won that battle. So anyways, moving on to the second film, The Last Jedi of that trilogy. Now this is not going to be a debate on why that film is bad or the worst one ever. This is mostly just going to be relying on Rey at the end of the day. And in that film, she is kind of taught by Luke, but they say that not that much because Luke had like a month or a couple months to train with Yoda. However, she only had like a week to train with Luke, and he didn't even train her. He kind of just gave her 3 measly little lessons. But in one of the lessons, Luke was told Rey to like look into the Force, because Rey has never really used the Force though. She used it once with the guard and then with Kylo Ren, but that was out of necessity, I can't say that word, because she was put on her back foot at the kind of the midpoint of that battle with, or that fight with Kylo Ren at the end of The Force Awakens. So really, at the end of the day, when Luke told her about that lesson, she was able to dip more into her power and to kind of access it more in that way and feel more comfortable in accessing that power. And even so, she didn't really use it till she was in communications with Kylo Ren though. But even then, she didn't really use it either. And even so, like even when she had her fight with Luke at the end of the day, she still got her ass whooped. Even though Luke hadn't been training in years or anything like that, Luke was still able to whip her ass. But the only reason that he took a back seat is because she pulled out the lightsaber and overforced him at the end of the day by them. And even in that film, we even got to see that a lot of people were complaining that she already knows the ways of the lightsaber and that she wasn't even trained for them at the end of the day. But the whole, with the rock and the lightsaber and how she was able to destroy it right away, the whole reason that she knows how to do that is because we see at the beginning of that scene that she used her staff and that she already has the fighting capability because she spent time on Jakku fighting off other scavengers and other people who probably have taken her things at the end of the day with her staff. So she will automatically apply that to a lightsaber at the end of the day and get adjusted to that. We never see her use any forms of lightsaber training or anything like that. We only see her use the staff itself, which means that at the end of the day, she's just using her moves that she used with the staff with the lightsaber instead in that film so far. And then at the end of that film, she again gets into a fight with some of the other guards and stuff like that. But like I said, like none of the forms are used in that lightsaber training or in that fight scene with the royal guard and stuff like that. Even Snoke was able to overpower her in that scene, literally dominated her. It wasn't until Kylo Ren killed Snoke that she was able to be free from. But that fight scene itself really doesn't show anything like any lightsaber fight scenes, nor forms, nor anything at all. It's just a fight with the two of them. And even though it is kind of hard to determine that she is good at it, but at the end of the day, she still is not fighting all of them all at once. She's fighting like only probably like I think like a couple, like 3 years at the end of the day, while Kylo Ren is fighting the other 3. And Kylo Ren is also trained as a Jedi and as a Sith, so he's able to overpower most of them as well. So again, she's not overpowered in the second movie at all. She's actually very goodly, evenly power structured. I don't think I should say that, but it just shows that her skills are still lacking. And it's not like she's doing anything so impressive that would warrant her to be like Mary Sue or some other strong, badass Supergirl or Miss Marvel or sorry, I should say Captain at the end of the day, where she overpowers all of the dudes and all the people in there and has no problems at all. Like she literally is struggling in that fight. She gets cut on her arm. You can see that. So at the end of the day, that film doesn't show anything else either. However, it does show that maybe there is 2 problems with that film that I would say. The first problem is that it's more or less a character problem, is that she's still looking for a parent, which is okay, fine. And she has a bit of a naivety with thinking that Kylo Ren or Ben Solo will turn to the light side again, which is wrong-ish in a way. So there's that problem, but I mean that's more like character depth. You have to put that in there, otherwise, yeah, she will be like a completely goodly written character at the end of the day, or I should say badly, well, not bad nor good, just kind of boring and simple in a way. You want like a character to have different struggles a day. Like Luke never tried to really convince anyone. He tried to convince Darth Vader, but that's because he knew that he was his father at the end of the day. And that only came because he chose to spare him, tried to offer him the same thing at the end of the day. Rey has no reason to like hate on Kylo Ren or to like find a peace with him. She asked Luke lied to her. She took in Kylo Ren's story, which most women in our own modern world won't really do, or even the justice system would probably take in from a guy's perspective. They'd probably just judge you as you're evil and bad, and that's the way it is. But Rey shows that she has empathy and compassion for her enemies at the end of the day. Unlike Anakin, though, because Anakin, like, in all his fights, he never tries to talk out anyone from doing those problems. So he never talked to Count Dooku to say that he's wrong and that he should turn back to the light, nor does he talk to Palpatine about that, asks him to turn away from his fight. That's the thing about Anakin, is that Anakin never had empathy. Anakin never had empathy for his, nor understanding for his villains, or antagonists at the end of the day, which Rey does. So, moving on, the second problem that I have that could be an issue at the end of the day is that Rey, there may have been one scene that may have showed that she was overpowered. And that scene is with the lightsaber, and her and Kylo Ren are both struggling to move the lightsaber, and they break it at the end of the day, which means that it puts her on equal fighting with Kylo Ren, though, at the end of the day. Equal power level, I should say, or ranking, which probably shouldn't have happened, though. I kind of would have rewrote that scene to be different, like maybe Kylo Ren would have overpowered Rey, and the only way that she would have gotten out of her is if the ship, when it destroyed Snoke's bigger Star Destroyer, it would have knocked them both out. Rey would have come to before Kylo Ren, and that would have been the catalyst, rather than showing them break the lightsaber and then they get knocked out. So, I mean, I think I would have did that instead. That's the only problem that I could say, that, yeah, maybe she was written a little bit to be in that scene, a little overpowered, though, for that movie. So, moving on to the last movie of the trilogy, you get to see that between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, we get to see that she's had training with Princess Leia, in that in even the start of the movie, we get to see her training in an obstacle course and learning the ways of how to use a lightsaber and the forms and stuff like that, and tapping more into her Force ability and stuff like that, as we see her kind of getting to the point of mastering her Force ability at the end of the day. So, which is pretty good, because it shows that now she has proper training, and we don't really know. We can assume that it's been a couple months or probably a year or two of training with Princess Leia, who is very powerful and was trained by Luke himself. And in the middle of that movie, we get to see some more problems with her, and finding out that her identity is that she is a Palpatine at the end of the day, which is, I mean, it's not the best storyline to put with her. I would have rather had her, at the end of the day, just be a nobody and just have her parents, like Kylo Ren said in The Last Jedi, just be filthy drunk traders who sold her off for drinking money. I would have rather had that, or something else other than the Palpatine stuff, but I can't change that at the end of the day. But yeah, she has some problems with finding out that, and she kind of shuts her friends off because she kind of realizes that and stuff like that at the end of the day, which puts her in like a moral kind of dilemma. Like, that's like finding out like your ancestor was like a really terrible dude, or he was like Hitler or something. Like, you will kind of question your own identity at the end of the day. Any human would do that, and that's pretty good writing for that at the end of the day. And then she has a fight with Kylo Ren again. She does do better. She is kind of more evenly matched, which is pretty good, because we are told and shown that she has had training with the lightsaber and the Force more intensely this time. She's going to use her abilities more like a Jedi. But even so, even in that fight, Kylo Ren is fully, he's healed from the last time that they fought each other. So he's more powerful. He doesn't have a gut shot to him, so he's not weakened in any other way. And in this scene, we get to see him overpower Rey and kind of almost kill her in a way, as the only thing that saves her is that Princess Leia gives up her own life, and Kylo Ren senses that, and he hesitates for a second and kind of freezes up, and Rey takes the chance to stab him in the gut again with the lightsaber, which puts him on his ass. So there you go, which is a really good out scene, and it actually even gives evidence that in the original first movie, Kylo Ren would have finished Rey off if he didn't have that gut punch or gut shot from Chewbacca. It also is good to mention that he also would have probably also had a harder time dealing with Rey, because he just killed his father as well in that movie. And even Snoke says that deed split your spirit to the bone and you were unbalanced. The same scene happened here. His mother died, and he hesitated, which costed him the fight. If that didn't happen, he would have probably killed Rey. So Rey is not overpowered in this movie either. The only other time that you could say that she may be overpowered in this movie is the 2 times that she may have been, which was earlier on in the movie when she's trying to move the First Order transport or troop carrier, and Kylo Ren is also pulling it as well towards his way. That shot shows that she uses Force lightning, which is fine, but she has to tap into the dark side, and that's only a brief moment, and she doesn't even overpower Kylo Ren. As that moment shows that she realizes that she can't overpower Kylo Ren there, but she instead gets angry and just says that if she can't have it, neither can he, and she destroys it. And even after that, she realizes that she shouldn't have done that because she thought that Chewbacca was on there. So like I said, she's not overpowered in this movie for that scene. And the other scene that I want to say that she may have been overpowered with is the last fight with the Emperor in it. But even in that shot is that even when she overpowers the Emperor and gets sucked her life force away, she still wins that fight, which is something you could say, but it comes at the cost of her own life. Like, she literally died, and Kylo Ren has to use whatever life force is left in him to resurrect her. So like I said, none of this shows that she's like a superpowered girl boss who's all powerful. Like, it just doesn't. So that's why I said, like, she's an underrated character at the end of the day, and people hate on her because, well, I don't know, like, I think just when it came out, it was in that Me Too movement era and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, looking back at it now, she's not really that girl boss at the end of the day. So anyways, like and subscribe, leave a comment down below what you guys think. Do you think that Rey is underrated, or do you think that the hate is truthful or accurate to her display in the movie? Anyways, thanks for watching. See ya.